No one knows it, but everyone is trying to change everyone to be more like them. I think you should do this. I think you should do that. I think you should think this. I think you should go there. I think you should listen to these podcasts. Ultimately, I'm not doing that because I'm thinking about you. I'm doing that because I'm essentially trying to get you to agree with me or to change you to be more like me. You can only properly fall in love with someone when you accept them for who they are instead of trying to change them into who you want to become. Because no one will become who you want them to become. And the more you want someone to become who you want them to become, the bigger the gap between delusion and reality. Therefore, the more unhappy you are.
Bro.
Yeah. And it is, look.
I'm getting free coaching here.
Hi, it's Rob Moore here, and we're in the studio, and I'm with Paul Mort. So Paul Mort has a podcast called Paul Mort Talks Shit. So that's why on this title we've put Rob Moore Talks Shit, except it sounds like you do all the shit talking.
It does, Jude. I'll do all the shit talking. Yeah, I'll do all that shit talking. I'm excited.
Well, I want to say thanks a lot for coming down.
Me, my pleasure.
You must be, what, 4 or 5 hour trip for you?
No, it's only 3 now. In the train, in it. That LNER game.
Yeah, so this is your gig. I know we're in my studio, but this is your show.
It is super weird. I'm excited to have Rob on. So for you guys who don't know who I am Paul Mort. I work with this Helly there. And this is distracting the shit. And my ADD is going ape shit. My name is Paul Mort. I work with married businessmen who need to get their shit together. And it's a career that I've I feel like I'm getting interviewed now. It's weird. I feel it's a career that I've stumbled upon. In 2014, I ran a successful supplement company, lived in Marbella, sniffed a lot of coke, did a lot of booze, and ended up getting diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Managed to turn my life around, lost 5 stone, came off the meds, and essentially a lot of other men asked me how I did it, and we ended up writing a book, launching a podcast, and building a very successful business. So yeah, that's me. And I wanted to get Rob on because I think Rob is an example of.
I haven't snorted a lot of coke and done all.
Not yet. His wife just said he's got to be back for 5, so the invite's over. So yeah, I wanted to get Rob on because the guys that I work with and the girls, we've actually started. I've almost been forced into coaching girls now as well because so many women are. Hey, Paul, can I join your program? Can I join your program? So that's start a separate thing. But Rob, for me, mate, you're a guy that is modern businessman. Actually, I don't know why I keep saying that. Modern business. I'm a modern man. I've never been an old-fashioned man. But Rob's an example of a man who is takes care of himself. Marriage is on fire. Dad, and has a successful business. And that is a very difficult balance to achieve, right? Let's just dive in on that.
Yeah. Is that a question?
I don't know.
No.
I don't know, but it's a challenging thing for a lot of men, right? That staying in shape, looking after your body, getting your relationship on point, running a successful business. I mean, that's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of pressure. And I'm sure at some point you felt that before, right?
Yeah, I think in your life, you will probably fix, sort out, or master what's most important to you, what you value, what you focus on. And then the minute you take your eye off your children, your marriage, your business, your health, then they will start to decay. So I definitely don't want to sit here and say I am the perfect business person, the perfect husband. I mean, if you had my wife here, it'd be a bit different. But I believe one of the universal laws is everything will decay into chaos unless it is focused on and order is created from it. So everything oscillates from order to chaos. So guys at the back, sorry, I can hear you. So I've got ADHD as well.
By the way, it's Mark. For you guys listening that know who producer Mark is, he's at the back and he's talking shit.
Yeah. So what you focus on and create order in, you get some level of control and mastery and results and success in your life.
Yes.
And then what you don't focus on or you ignore, in the end, will descend into chaos.
Yes.
So if you're an entrepreneur, if you all in on your business, you might create some order and success there. But if you don't attend to your children and your marriage, there will be chaos in that area. They won't just stay the same. You can't just not look at them. I think there are actually 7 main areas of your business. I think you've got your health, your kind of wealth or your vocation, your spirituality, your happiness, your family, your social. And you can, I think, master those 7 areas of your life. It's just a question of, do you want to be the person, the guy in this instance, who's got quite an equally balanced 7 areas,
yes,
well, you'll be pretty okay at all of those.
yes.
Or do you want to be Elon Musk, who's an ultra billionaire, but probably his relationships haven't been very good? Or Steve Jobs, ultra billionaire, but his health got really affected.
Yes.
But that all comes back down to what is most important to you. What are your highest values?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, you've worked with John DeMartini, right?
He's one of my
dude, how amazing is he?
I know, I've learned the most from him. Out of probably anyone I've learned from.
Really?
Yeah, he's great.
That was one of my questions actually. But I heard you mention values, and I did the breakthrough experience.
Yeah.
Actually, it was the last time.
So we're talking about John DeMartini, by the way.
Dr. John DeMartini, what a fucking guy. Do you know what, right? When I first seen him on The Secret, and I was like, who's this guy with the weird hair? Because he's like a dog, isn't he? I was telling him, I said, John, you look like a dog. Just look like a dog. Do you know them dogs with like where you can't see their eyes because they've got all that hair? I'm like, John looks like a dog. But when I went,
he's not watching.
I hope he is. Maybe we'll get him on so he can dispute the fact that he looks like a dog. But honestly, I was blown away by him. Do you know what I was most blown away by? I was blown away by how smart he was, but also his sense of humor. He was hilarious. And I love a guy that's got a sense of humor and that. So coming back to that, how long have you been learning from him from?
So I've been into personal development probably for 15 years.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a funny journey because probably before 2005, I was the typical glass half empty kind of guy.
Really?
I'm really unlucky. I'm a victim.
Really?
Yeah. That's successful.
Dude, I couldn't even imagine that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you didn't know me back then.
I didn't.
So I was also really overweight. and I, like anyone who was successful, I either disliked or I figured they'd screwed someone over. If they had a Ferrari, there must have been a drug dealer. Everything to me was glass half empty, or I was a victim, or I was unlucky, or they had good parenting, or someone gave them a load of money, and I was doomed. And then I started doing personal development, and it was really weird because a flatmate of mine had to rent out my first house, a room in the house. It was really small, but I started to rent out one of the rooms because I couldn't afford to pay the mortgage myself. And he was moving out. He'd lived with me for 3 years, and it was his time to move out. He'd got a girlfriend, and he was clearing out all the CDs and the stuff from under his bed. And he gave me a box of CDs, and he was like, "Rob, do you want these?" And I thought it was a singer-songwriter. You know, you have like Jack Johnson. And this guy was called Tony Robbins. And I thought it was a set of singer-songwriter CDs. So I just thought, I'll stick this on because I like music when I was doing my art back in the day. And there's this massive gregarious American who at first, obviously, I thought, who is this guy? What sort of shit is he talking? How can anybody be that positive? There must be something wrong with him. And then I got really into it. And then I flipped into Mr. Happy Clappy Positive. And probably about a year into being happy, clappy, positive, I realized actually a lot of the happy, clappy, positive people are often some of the most unhappy. You know, like a lot of the comedians, that the comedy is making up for the sadness and depression. So I'd gone from all negative to all positive, and I actually realized on my own journey, either one of those polar extremes is not the answer. And you're looking for the answer.
Still agree 1,000,000%.
And then John DeMartini was the first guy that taught me, well, actually, any polar opposite is the furthest distance away from balance. And ultimate, whether you want to call it happiness, contentment, fulfillment, whatever, is in this elegant balance between the two extremes.
And he talks about the delusion of positive thinking. Right? I love that. That was when I heard him say that, I was like, wow, that explains a lot. Because his whole thing was, and what I see is that people that buy into positive thinking, which let's face it, will kind of do, when they're not feeling positive, then they'll automatically think there must be something fucking wrong with me. I'm broken. I love that. So Robbins is a funny thing because I remember I must have been about, it wasn't 2005, it was probably around about, maybe a little before that was the Get the Edge thing. Remember the Get the Edge thing? And I've seen him on...
That was Get the Edge and Personal Power. These
is that what the one was it?
So, you know, like 8 or 9 CDs. With
Dude, that's amazing. And I got it off QVC. Remember that big advert that he used to do on QVC and I had him on. I was like, this guy's a giant for a start. He's taller than you, isn't he? He's taller than you. Rob said, "Don't look how small." Dude, I look like your son. Yeah, look how small I am, man. Wow. I'm currently the tallest dwarf in Peterborough. But this Tony Robbins thing, I remember it. I used to put it in a CD Walkman. Is that what you were on? The CD Walkman. And I remember I'd be walking along going, all I need is within me. But that's
every day in every way. I'm getting more and more powerful.
And when you're doing these little things with your fingers. Bro.
Knuckles, anchoring, looking at people in the street all the time, smiling at them because you were told to look at people and smile.
Yeah, amazing. So that was your first venture into personal development. What got you into John DeMartini then?
I don't know. It must have been something that I unconsciously was looking for.
Yeah.
In my own journey, I realized either extreme was unhealthy for me, but you had to kind of go to each extreme.
Well, dude, I'd been diagnosed bipolar.
Yeah.
So me learning this year was like, holy shit. And I'd already turned my life around a lot, but that was like, holy shit. And the other thing that I loved that you mentioned as well, and we're going right back to the start here about balance, doing that values factor thing and discovering that actually it's okay to value business, work. And for me, it was actually about being the center of attention. So I discovered my highest value is standing on a stage, performing. And I was actually, and that was the first time that I realized actually it's okay to want to do that. So you've done the values factor thing, right? The values test. What was the biggest thing that you got from that?
So my highest value when I did it was growth and progress.
Yeah.
It's changed because I'm 41 now and I was probably 31 back then.
Yeah.
But I realized that anytime I achieved something or moved forward or felt like I was growing, even if it's just listening to podcasts and audiobooks, I'd get this really fulfilled, deep-rooted sense of happiness.
Yes.
Conversely, if I did something and I felt like I was going backwards or I was losing compared to someone else, I'd feel really empty and lost and frustrated.
Yes.
So that was my highest value. And then probably business and money was second.
Yeah.
And I wrote a book called Money, which did really well.
Yeah.
And I say to people that there's nothing wrong with having money high on your values. Because, you know, if you ever ask anyone, what are your values, without thinking it, they put shoulds on their values rather than what they actually are.
Yes.
So, for example, if you've got a family dynamic,
so
you've got, you know, a husband, a wife, and 2 children. If family was highest on all 4 of their values, then there would be no income stream in the family.
That was a
because
big
the
mind
whole
blow.
family is focusing on family.
Yes.
It's not that family isn't important.
Yes.
It's just what's most important.
Yes.
So I think certainly I've seen a lot of guilt with men feeling like, oh, okay, society or my partner or people say, oh, you know, family and health and this and that should be top. When in reality, growth and progress and business and money for many it's changed now. Family has moved up for me now. Because there was a void in it. I felt quite a lot of guilt in that for quite a few years because I felt like it should have been something else.
That was me as well. Yeah.
But if it weren't for my role in the family, my kids wouldn't be able to go to private school.
Yes.
You know, my wife wouldn't be able to not work and all these things. So I just actually realized that was my role in our family dynamic.
Yeah.
Another thing, you know, when people say, oh, it's really weird how my kids are so different. No, it's not. It's really normal how your kids are so different. Because if your kids were the same, you wouldn't have a balanced family dynamic. You need your kids to be different to have a balanced family. Exactly.
Dude, I mean, my wife are totally different as well. Is that what you're like with your wife?
Yeah. She's grounded. She's sort of quite skeptical. Yeah. She thinks of downside risk. She takes her time.
Dude, does that help? Does that downside risk help you?
Yeah. Well, I think maybe in my earlier years when I was more naive of this, I used to find that frustrating. I used to feel like it helped. Why
you're not supporting me? Why you're not?
She's just being herself.
Yes.
And I suppose, you know, when you expect someone else to be more like you, that's when you could probably never really love them for who they are.
Do you know what I wish I had right now? This is what we're going to get on our podcast. Do you ever listen to Tim Westwood? Remember him, that DJ?
Yeah, I do. I don't listen to him.
Well, so Tim Westwood on his show, he has this button that he presses and a bomb sound goes off. I feel like I should have one of those buttons right now. Because that's a bomb, that, like expecting other people to be like you.
Well, I think this is what everyone does. I believe everybody, when they're in business partnerships, relationships, they're selling, interacting with people, no one knows it, but everyone is trying to change everyone to be more like them. I think you should do this. I think you should do that. I think you should think this. I think you should go there. I think you should listen to these podcasts. Ultimately, I'm not doing that because I'm thinking about you. I'm doing that because I'm essentially trying to get you to agree with me or to change you to be more like me. You can only properly fall in love with someone when you accept them for who they are instead of trying to change them into who you want to become. Because no one will become who you want them to become. And the more you want someone to become who you want them to become, the bigger the gap between delusion and reality. Therefore, the more unhappy you are.
Bro.
Yeah. And look,
I'm getting free coaching here. By the way, what Rob's dropping here, like, is insane level knowledge that for both my audience and your audience, they may not have ever even considered before.
It's just,
and it's huge.
Yeah, it is.
Like, it's huge. That, like, I get people saying, this person is trying to control me. And I'm like, well, what do you want them to do? And then they actually get a realization that actually they're trying to control them. And then the one thing that we talk about quite a lot, guys in my program are trying to get a handle on some level of boozing or some level of self-soothing thing. And they say to me, like, all my friends try and force me to booze. I'm like, I think a lot of men will drink with their friends because they want to fit in, but then they're going crazy because all their friends are trying to get them to drink. I'm like, well, they just want to fit in with you. So it's a really weird dynamic, that, isn't it?
I had to distance myself from all those friends in 2006, 5 and 6.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that I didn't like them. It wasn't that I thought I was superior to them. That's none of that. But, you know, they were used to me drinking with them Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night. And of course, anyone who drinks a lot, what do they want everyone else to do? Drink a lot with them, because then that makes them feel comfortable that they're doing the right thing. Anyone who doesn't want to drink, does that mean that they're drinking too much? Or anyone that wants to go and set up their business and stop drinking so they can be an entrepreneur, does that mean I have to look at myself and go, holy shit, I've sold out all my dreams? And I literally, within a week of saying to my mates, I'm not coming out this weekend because, you know, I'm starting a new thing. They'd come and bang on my window at like 9 o'clock at night, all pissed, trying to get me out, and I'd have to pretend I wasn't in.
Really?
Because I found it really difficult. But me changing was difficult for them. And this is something, I know we're just sort of going on random tangents, but I think it's really important.
It's the Paul Mort Talk Shit Show. It's what we do. We'll talk shit.
Rob Moore is talking shit on Paul Mort's Talk Shit Show.
I love it.
So,
mate, this is such an important subject as well, boozing for entrepreneurs.
Yeah. So I have a property company. It's the biggest training company for property in the UK. It's called Progressive Property. And you know, a lot of people want to be property investors. And of course, I have my Disruptive Entrepreneur podcast. I have a load of entrepreneurs that follow me. So I have all these people, tens of thousands of people that have quit their job, you know, thanks to, or in part thanks to, following my work. And then within 2 months, they say, oh, you know, my friends and family have turned on me, and you know, they're all negative and blah, blah, blah. I want to just flip that on its head. I know for a fact, and it's a bit embarrassing to say, but I'm going to be honest. When I was listening to Tony Robbins CDs for 2 months, I must have been the biggest dick to be around. The biggest dick, going around preaching, dude. Positive. When you change your own life and you get these epiphanies, you get so excited about it.
You want everybody
preaching,
else.
And you have to be careful. And I started preaching, but what the fuck did I know? Having done it for 6 weeks and listening to a set of CDs. So if you change and, you know, you quit your job and you start earning extra income, you know, they say, don't they, you know, people with a little bit of knowledge are very dangerous because a little bit of knowledge can cause a lot of mistakes. But, you know, people who've recently got into personal development or recently set up their own business, we can be quite annoying. And we can't see what we're doing. In
the MLM crowd, the network marketing crowd are renowned for it, right?
So I think, so again, looking at the wisdom of balance would be, you're empowering your own change, but try and be respectful that other people maybe feel a bit funny about change. Try not to preach or to condescend. You know, like if you get into a debate or an argument on Facebook with a vegan or a spiritualist, you know, sometimes the spiritualists are the most grumpy, unspiritualist people I've ever met in my life. Because, you know, you talk about materialism and they fucking have this massive go at you and they rant at you and social media, and then they block you. And it's like, wait a minute. So,
you know what's interesting about that? I think it's because when we start giving advice to people that haven't asked for it, they feel like they're under attack. They feel like they're under attack. They're like, it's just, there's nothing wrong with me. What's wrong with me? Why are you saying that? It's a big deal as well.
And often with criticism, it's like if you get it from friends and family, I'm like, stop being so negative. But you might care about me. You might think, what's Rob doing? Oh, I don't want him to get stuck in some MLM campaign, or he's giving up this good job to get in property. I'm worried about him. I want to check he's all right. Is he all right? And you're not actually resisting me and giving me negative. You're not being negative. You care about me. And often friends and family care about you. Because you want to be all positive, and you know you can't. What gets my go is when someone gives them a bit of criticism and fucking hater. Fuck the haters. It's just a fucking hater.
Toxic.
Exactly. When, hey, look, if you can't take a little bit of criticism, maybe you're not ready for the game you're stepping into. So this is like looking at it from both sides, because obviously the obvious thing you and I could talk about is being positive and dealing with critics and, you know, putting yourself out there and building your personal brand and, you know, being clear on who you are and speaking with authority and not worrying about
all my questions are fuck now, by the way.
But there's another side to it that I think So I guess what I probably learned the most from John DeMartini is that wisdom is being able to see things from both sides simultaneously.
Yeah, both sides of the coin.
Yeah. So let's say, for example, you get excited about something. Wisdom is in that excitement, you can also see the downside risk of what could go wrong.
Yes.
You feel very scared and worried about something. Well, wisdom is being able to see the upside.
I love this because sometimes other people might have to show you the other side of the coin, right? Like your wife might show the other side of the coin. My wife certainly does this. I think
the purpose of a wife is to humiliate a man back into balance.
Pull his pants down.
Who can humiliate you more than your wife?
Ooh,
no one.
Dude, that's amazing.
No one can.
Yeah. Well, imagine when I'm talking about the Tyson Fury thing that I was speaking to you about. Imagine my wife on the day, she was like, is he even going to turn up? Do you even know this guy you're giving him money to?
Yeah.
I was like, I've got his address.
Yeah.
I said, I know where he lives. So, oh, yeah, dude. And she just, again, these people, you got to think about them. Are they haters? No. Or are they just keeping your feet on the ground and making sure you don't make a stupid decision?
Yeah.
Oh, and I think I'm also of the opinion, and I learned this from, I did this thing called the 9-day school for the work with Byron Katie. She's a fucking phenomenal woman. And what I learned from her is that that I don't think there's any such thing as negative people, only negative thoughts about people. So I'm like, if I think you're negative, like, what does that make me? Like, I'm having a negative thought about something that you're saying, because essentially people just make shapes with their mouth, noise comes out, and then we attach meaning to that, right? It's the same online. Like, so there might be someone talking shit about us right now live, which would be amazing. Imagine that. Dude, have you ever done a podcast? I think you should do this if you haven't already. A podcast where you read out what people have said about you online.
Oh, yeah, we do.
Have you done that?
So someone once
Where can I find that?
Someone once said, let me try and get this word for word perfect. Rob Moore is what's known as a dick rider. Dick riding is not an official sport. Though were dick riding an official sport, Rob Moore would surely hop on for a ride.
Wow.
That was pretty good.
That guy's a wordsmith.
Yeah, he is. He's a poet. I mean, some of my haters are very creative.
It's interesting, isn't it? It's interesting. And again, the actually, I'm like, they give me Greek.
I didn't even know what that was.
What is it?
Someone called me one, a bitch licker.
A bitch licker.
You've never been called one.
No.
You need to up your game.
That's me. I'll tell you what it is. If there's a job going for that, I'm in.
Yeah.
If anyone's applying for a bitch licker, by the way, if anyone's looking for one, I'm in. I'm in. I'll take a pay cut and everything. So let's go back to the boozing thing, because again, it's something that I deal with a lot from guys that want to get a handle on it. What's your whole approach now? Like, are you drinking now? Have you got a handle on it? What do you do to stay off it? Are you teetotal? Are you?
Harry, can you put some of the comments up? That'd be fun.
It's just been a couple on there that I saw. I thought, you know what? It's
ping them all up. And so I probably drink 1 drink per year, maybe
really?
2.
Yeah.
So I suppose technically I'm not teetotal. Depends how you
define
it. But, if I had 1 drink, I'd be like pissed for about 45 minutes. Yeah. And I get a lot of value out of 1 drink.
I bet everybody else does as well, right?
Yeah. So I feel really like merry for about 45 minutes, an hour, and then I just feel normal again. If I had 2, it starts to sting my face a bit. I don't have a good reaction to
really?
alcohol. Yeah.
I wish I had that as well.
So so I'll have 1, maybe 2 drinks in a year on a very special occasion.
Yeah.
And I get loads of benefit from that.
Yeah.
I used to drink loads from maybe age 14 to maybe age 25. And I was just a very social guy. That was everything was around drinking. I went to uni and drunk loads. Yeah. And then when we started Progressive, I just, as I got older, my hangovers got longer. and like if I had a proper weekend of it, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or even missed a day out, I wouldn't feel probably normal again till Wednesday morning. So Monday and Tuesday, when it's your own business and you want to put in a shift to get it going, you can't. And you find yourself being a bit edgy with people. You find yourself just, being a bit slow. Your brain's just a bit foggy. And I just made a decision. I just thought business is more important to me than drinking.
Was there anything in particular? Or was it just a gradual, do you know what?
It's probably gradual, because actually, when I met my business partner, we set up our company for a good 6 to 9 months, maybe even a year, we were going out every weekend and really like building a good friendship as well as a business partnership.
Yes.
And the year where we both worked in a company, we were going out a lot.
Yeah.
But I suppose once our friendship was formed, he had a girlfriend, I had a girlfriend, you know, we were really serious about our company.
Yeah.
I just made the decision, now I'm out. I value business. I think what you value more, you'll end up focusing on. So
Yes.
I value business and entrepreneurship and progress more than drinking.
I actually shot a video on this that we haven't put out yesterday, saying that, because I get asked about this bad habits thing all the time. I'm like, one thing you've got to have is, it's probably the biggest thing. You've just got to find something that you set value. I'm going to say you give more of a fuck about than being drunk.
So, you know, a lot of people say, don't they? Because I'm an addictive personality, and I mean, I can get addicted to air. I can get addicted to anything. Yeah. Better not put a mask on. I get addicted to that, licking it or something. Just like get addicted to
you lick, that's that when you're not licking the bitches. Yeah, when he's not licking the bitches, he's licking these masks.
I can get addicted to anything.
Yeah.
So, and then they say, don't they, with addictions often, it's good to replace it with something else.
That's what I said as well, dude. Yeah.
So I didn't come off alcohol kind of cold turkey.
Yeah.
That particular friendship circle was drifting, and that was fine. I never fell out with any of them. I'm still actually good mates with a couple of them.
Yes.
It's a big myth. Oh, you got to fuck off your mates. Anyone who holds you back, you got to fuck them off.
Dude, I agree 100%.
No, you don't have to do that. That's not how you treat people.
Yeah.
But it was clear that their shit was still on this direction and mine was changing direction. Yeah. And that's okay. So I replaced the addiction of drinking. I mean, I don't think I was an alcoholic, because I was the sort of guy where I wouldn't have one drink. I wouldn't have two drinks. I wouldn't do a social drink. Yeah. I was either not out. I'm exactly the same. So I don't know. Maybe that makes me alcoholic. Yeah. Maybe not. But if there was no one doing anything for 3 weeks, I wouldn't have a drink for 3 weeks.
Yes.
But if we were going out, then I was on it.
I'm the same.
So I replaced that with business.
Doubling down on the business.
On entrepreneurship. Yeah. But then, of course, what happens 3-5 years into business and entrepreneurship, what's my new addiction? Work.
Yeah.
And I guess a lot of the guys you coach, they're addicted to business and work.
Yeah.
I mean, that's so common.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is. And I think that often you've got the guys that are addicted to work, and their only way to kind of switch off from that is a few drinks. I'm not so sure they're getting on it anymore, or out, but they're still kind of the way to deal with the stress and the pressure of running a business is to have a drink.
Yeah, so that's like using one addiction to kind of come off or appease another addiction.
Yeah. That was one question I wanted to ask you, actually, because it'd be interesting to see what your answer is. What's your kind of switch off relaxation thing? Like, what's your...
So if you'd have asked me that 3 or 4 months ago, I probably wouldn't have had an answer, because I'm not very good at it.
Yeah, neither am I.
I've tried meditation. Fucking boring, takes too fucking long. So I can do walking meditations. Maybe we'll come to that. That's something I tried that actually did work for me.
Yeah.
But it didn't.
Well, let's do that now.
Yeah.
Let's do that now.
Yeah. So I tried lots of different types of meditation.
Yeah.
You know, the one where you obviously try and clear your mind, the one where you focus on, say, a candle, or the one where you do guided meditations or music or one-word mantras. So Deepak Chopra's one-word or mantra meditations work for me.
I love that as well, yeah.
But Joe Dispenza teaches like a walking meditation technique. Mm-hmm. So I since the lockdown, I've been doing loads of walks. I mean, I'd sometimes walk up to 5 hours a day, and it's been brilliant. That's probably one thing that helps me.
Is that without your phone and that, or is it?
No. I'll sometimes listen to music.
Yeah.
I'll sometimes just do these walking meditations.
Yeah.
I'll sometimes clear all my WhatsApp.
Yeah.
I'll sometimes do one-to-one calls.
Yeah.
So on a 4 or 5 hour walk, I could do all of those in one walk.
Yeah.
Walking meditation. I'm probably not at advanced Joe Dispenza level where, you know, I'm in this sort of
you're floating,
not walking. I mean, they do them on the beach and stuff like that. I do them on the path. I can't get too much into meditation. I walk into the road and kill myself.
Yeah.
But just walking, thinking about my one-word mantras or my... So I have certain mantras like, you know, wealth, success, health, strength, happiness, confidence, non-judgment, abundance, love, gratitude. And I say those to myself most nights before I go to sleep.
Yeah.
John DeMartini's mantra that he got from one of his mentors, which I like, is I'm a genius and I apply my wisdom. I'm a genius, I apply my wisdom.
Yes.
My therapist helped me with one. I love myself, I'm a good person and I am free. I love myself, I'm a good person and I am free.
Yeah.
The reason she gave me that is because she figured out that most of the value I attribute to myself is to do with all my entrepreneurial accolades, world records, millions of pounds, you know, all these influencer tools and premium features I have, biggest property training company, hundreds of properties, all of these things.
Yeah.
And she says, Rob, take that all away. Who are you? And I've struggled with the answer to that question. And I've struggled to really value myself when you take all that away. Like it's almost like I only value myself if I do something nice for you.
Yes.
Or if I get some kind of
result,
accolade or result. And, you know, like they say, you are not your work. Failures, mistakes, achievements. You are not and I've struggled with that because my whole identity is being an entrepreneur. That's how we've met. Most of my friends, that's how I've met.
Dude, I'll be exactly
you don't actually
the same.
know me behind all this entrepreneurial stuff. You might fucking hate me when you knew who I really am. But what I've done is kind of quite conveniently got this nice protective wall of all these achievements and accolades through business, and it makes me feel very comfortable and certain.
I feel like I'm fucking in Back to the Future here because this is me and like I can feel it already. I mean, this is me in a year's time. If you took all that away from me, I'd struggle as well. Like I'm almost, do you find yourself moving from kind of one high to the next? Right, I've done this, what's next? I don't think that's a bad thing, but this is...
So up until 3 months ago, I was definitely a workaholic. I was addicted to pretty much all social media. My personal life was a bit all over the place. You know, my wife and I, we lived in this parallel universe. It was like, we didn't really, it was almost like, I woke up and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm working loads of time in the business and building the empire. She's completely focusing on the kids. Well, what about us? And we'd kind of gone like
a bit of a gap.
This and you know, and it wasn't like anything. So there's that going on. There's like WhatsApp and Facebook and all these social media platforms. I just give a little bit of a polite, friendly, non-evangelical warning to everyone, because I don't want to get on my high horse because I've managed to come off this. But fucking check how addicted you are to social media.
That screen time is fucking embarrassing.
Well, like I would literally, you know, when you're just doing something and then you just have to check your phone. And you think about your phone, your phone in your pocket.
Have you ever carried 3 coffees in your hand and your phone's gone off in your pocket, bro?
No,
I've gone from caffeine Iran, but I've got 3 coffees in my hand, so I can't obviously grab my phone. My phone went off. I wonder who that is. I wonder what that is. I wonder if that's money. I wonder what they're saying about me. It blew my mind. So what have you been doing on this then?
Well, I mean, you know, social media, it's like anything. It's a double-edged sword. It has upside and downside. But sort of, let's say just before the lockdown. So what's that, 4 months ago? I had this realization that my wife and I are, you know, quite living 2 separate lives, basically. I thought she wanted me to hustle and be successful. She thought I wanted her to look after the kids, when in reality we wanted a more balanced relationship, but we hadn't really communicated. I'm addicted to all these social media platforms, and I'm addicted to business. And I've been, you know, like, that's great on the outside when people follow you for business advice, because people follow me for business advice. I mean, if you'd have followed me for relationship advice and life balance advice, I'd have been the worst person to follow, and I'd have been a fucking fraud, like plenty of frauds on social media. So I didn't even know I was doing this. But if anyone asked me any relationship advice or balance advice, I'd just sort of skirt it and say, hey, it's really not my area. Unconsciously, I guess I realized I didn't really have those areas mastered, because I was all focused on business and entrepreneurship. Now, that's Steve Jobs, Elon Musk. This is what these guys do. But the question is, do you want to have 3 divorces and do you want to be dead by the time you're 48? I'm not judging these guys, by the way, because they're geniuses. But I'm just saying, what do you want? And some people might want that. And that's fine. I mean, probably in my mid-20s, 30, I wanted to be a billionaire. I'm not asked about being a billionaire anymore. I would rather have 5 to 10 million and a really great relationship and social circle than 5 billion and have no one around me. Because you know, I sort of exceeded 5 million net worth and then decamillionaire and everything else. I know how much you need to be financially free. I know how much you need not to ever work again, and I'm there, and I don't need to work again, and I've got all the money I need. I've got a £300,000 Lamborghini and a Ferrari and a £175,000 Porsche and a 100 grand Range Rover. I don't need any more cars. I don't need any more money. But it was only 3 months ago I actually said, I don't need any more money, and I don't need to work anymore, and I actually don't need to check WhatsApp 58,000 times.
And again, was there a particular thing that triggered this, or was it?
I think it was having therapy. I think it was actually reconnecting properly and talking to my wife properly again, and us reigniting, knowing who each other were. I think it was being honest about what I was addicted to.
Yeah.
So I just went on social media one day and I said, I've retired. Harry said to me today, Rob, I hear you've retired. You never told me. You just announced it on social media. And I just thought, I'm just going to take control of this. So I just woke up one day and I just said, fuck it, I'm retired.
So what does that mean then? What is that?
No, I mean, there are 95 staff that work in this building, and I'd be operationally involved probably about half my time in running this training company. And now my MD, she manages it all, and I just support her. And we had a board meeting today, so I'll have a board meeting once a month. I'll have some strategy sessions, once or twice a week. But all decisions, all operational decisions, they're on her now.
Wow.
So
how does that feel?
Really good.
Does it?
Yeah. Well, I've got 95 staff. So why do I need to work an extra 3 hours a day? Why do I need to make the decisions when we've got all these people?
Yeah.
I don't need to, but because if you think about it as well, I put a quote on social media. No one will ever shine their light fully until they get out of your shadows. And me just being here meant that they're like, oh, Rob's around. Yeah. Oh, Rob's around. I've not stepped foot in this building other than today and then a couple of days to pick something up in the last sort of 4 months.
Holy shit, dude.
My shadow is...
You're walking all the time, eh?
Yeah, walking out where I live. Or we built a studio like this in my house. Harry was just over there.
Oh, really?
Today. Yeah. Now, the thing with retirement, a few people are like, hey, Rob, retirement bollocks.
Yeah.
You're not retired. You're fucking on social media more than ever. Yeah, I'm on social media more than ever because I'm retired. They don't get this. So for me, I've retired 5 times. And I know what retirement is. Retirement is not doing nothing. Because when you do nothing, it's not long after that you end up dying or doing something else. The stats are there.
Well, you find another addiction.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So for me, retirement is doing something else.
Yeah.
So I've retired so I can do something else.
Amazing.
So I'll take my daughter and we'll go for a 3-hour walk and we'll go into town and we'll do a couple of little Instagram reels and I'll take her into Metro Bank. And
how old is your
6.
Oh, really?
And she'll pay a check into the bank and, we'll go and have a chat. Mm-hmm. Now, I hadn't spent 3 hours with my daughter in 3 months when I was working a lot.
Yeah.
And then the next day I'll take my son and we'll go for 1 or 2.
How old is he?
Walk. He's 9.
Oh, dude, our kids are the same age and everything.
So I can't. Apparently, Andy Collins is bored, so we probably need to talk more shit. Andy, if you want to put a question in, then ping it in.
We can talk shit, or Andy, you can eat shit. You can always just tune out, bro. Yeah.
I can't even remember what the question was.
It was about retiring.
Yeah.
What's retirement?
So for me, it's developing my personal brand.
Yes.
And having fun on social media, doing more content.
Yeah.
It's spending more time with my family. It's taking up all my hobbies again.
Yeah.
So
talk me about these hobbies.
Music, martial arts.
Really?
Yeah.
Which martial art?
I did Chinese kickboxing and sort of traditional kickboxing for a good few years.
Oh shit! Really?
Yeah, I had a couple of not professional fights, but fights. What do they call them? Semi-professional.
Yeah.
Padded up, but going at it.
Oh shit! So you're back in that?
Well, I'm just literally starting again now. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but like when I started my company, I never thought I won't do art again, and I won't do music again, and I won't play the drums again.
You just drift away from
martial arts again.
Yeah.
But the thing with entrepreneurship is, you can absolutely get sucked into it, so that it ends up being your whole life, and you don't even really realize you've just seen the suck ass coming, haven't you? That's just distracting.
I have. I'm like, Brian's definitely American. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, he's got a his son's got a cowboy hat.
I think he's talking to Andy. I don't think he's talking to
no, I'm not sure. I think Brian, does his mum know he's got a phone? Unless
I don't know.
You're very young to have a phone and saying things like that on, if I'm judging you by your profile picture. Sorry, Brian.
Yeah. So, I think what does a balanced life mean? I think it means work out what's important to you. Mm-hmm. Be careful of what becomes your addictions. Yeah. Try and control things rather than them control you.
Yeah.
So material items can control you. You always strive to have the new one, or you are defined by it. Mm-hmm. Or material items can serve you, i.e. you choose to buy something nice and have it last and enjoy quality. Yeah. But I mean, I made a decision when the lockdown happened. I'm not going to drive any of my supercars. I'm just going to leave them in the garage. I thought it was a bit, I mean, I had every right to drive them, my cars, but I thought it was a little bit indiscreet. when the world is struggling to get out and drive a 300 grand Lamborghini. So I just decided I'll just leave them in the garage for 5 months. I just won't drive them until.
Dude, by the way, how the fuck are you getting a Lamborghini?
I'll show you this I'll show the technique. I don't know if you can see this, but you open because the doors go like that.
Yeah.
And basically you have to get in arse first like that.
Really?
Yeah, I'll show you. It's the only way you can get in.
I thought you were going to say technology, not technique.
No,
I thought you were like, the technology is it pulls you in and you slide in, but you actually just did a squat.
So yeah, and Matthew said here, I've struggled and beat my addiction. So good on anyone who's beat any of their addictions. I think it's really fucking inspiring person.
Yeah, me too.
I get asked all the time, who Rob inspires you? Well, Matthew inspires me if he's had some addictions.
Yes.
And then he's overcome them.
Yeah.
I just feel like our brain is wired to get addicted to things.
Yeah.
Well, mine.
Do you think it's an entrepreneurial thing? Do you think it's more entrepreneurs than people that aren't entrepreneurs?
Maybe a personality type.
Yeah.
Also a values cluster. Because if you look at hyper successful people, they've just got a really extreme value in that area. And then some people, have got. You might, if you look at your own values and there's like one thing you want to do and you just don't care about anything else, you'll end up being a genius in that area, but you might be tortured in the rest of your life.
Yes.
Whereas if you don't really value anything in an extreme way, but you've got 5 or 6 things you value, and you value work and family and health and well-being fairly equally, you won't be that extreme tortured genius. You'll be more balanced, but you probably won't be the billionaire, or you probably won't be the Mozart or whatever.
Yeah, dude, that's a great point. We've had loads. For some reason, I think it's because I love fighting. We've had loads of fighters on the podcast. And I asked one guy, Dave, he fought. He was the first guy to fight in UFC Fight Island. Broke his jaw in the first round, not the kid out in the third round. I said to him, do you think you got to be a little bit crazy to be a fighter? And he's like, yeah. But that's suppose they've gone all in on that career.
Yeah.
And they might never make any money, ever. But they don't give a fuck because they value that whole thrill like so much. It's crazy. I've got a question for you actually. I got asked on Instagram yesterday, and I thought it was
one thing really quick.
Yes.
So Matthew said, "I get in a Lamborghini like a lady." How do you get in a Lamborghini like a man?
Oh, head first.
Head first. Because you can't.
Balls first.
It's this high.
Yeah.
So you actually can't get in with your leg.
Yeah.
You can't actually get in with your leg.
Yeah.
I'm speaking from experience. I don't know if that's...
By the way, you guys are listening.
You have to get in with your ass first, like that.
Dude, I love that. Yeah. How do you get in a Lamborghini?
Can we take a camera out and actually show it or not? On your phone? No, all right. I just thought maybe you could do this live.
Oh, you can't get in front of the thing, can you? Because there's not enough room. We'll have to...
But, no, that's all right. It's all right. Sorry, your question. These comments are really difficult to stay on thread, aren't they?
We were talking about StreamYard before. I'm definitely not getting it now. No? Because I'd be on those all the time, especially when people start giving me shit. Yeah. I'd literally just focus on having a fucking going after someone. Do you know like when a comedian gets heckled? Yeah. Like I would love that shit. I'd be all on that. Yeah. Talking about people's mums and shit like that.
Yeah, you forget your whole routine.
Oh, dude, I would. So the question that I got was, what do you think somebody has to, if somebody wants to be successful in business, apart from obviously business, what do you think some of the skills and what do they need to value if they want to, apart from being successful in business? What do you think? I think you have to be, one of the things that I think you have to value is kind of like, maybe it's not, maybe you can give me your opinion. I'm like, you have to value a bit of risk. You have to value, a bit of adrenaline. You have to value a bit of chaos, I think. I don't know what you think about that. I mean, you're probably the type of guy that thrives on a bit of chaos.
Yeah, I mean, I create chaos. I like going around creating chaos. If I see anything too ordered and too normal and traditional and slow and steady,
this is exactly why
I just go in and shake it up on purpose.
Yeah.
So what does it take to be a successful entrepreneur? Well, the first thing is you've got to define what success is.
Yeah.
And I don't think success should be the goal. I think success is the outcome. I think the goal should be to create a meaningful product or service that adds value to people's lives, that you create fair exchange where you're grateful to pay for it and I'm grateful to create it.
Yes.
I get fair profit margin, otherwise I'm not going to keep doing it.
Yes.
And you get fair value, otherwise you're not going to keep buying it.
Amazing.
And people forget all these things. I think that you've got to have a kind of not even just an ability to fix problems. You've almost got to have a sadistic pleasure for enduring challenge. So I'll give you, you're into jiu-jitsu, did you say?
I am. I got my blue belt. Okay. And you guys that are watching, I got my blue belt last Saturday, in case you didn't know I mentioned it.
Well done.
I've not stopped talking about it since I got it, because I went all in on it. My wife's gone crazy. She's like, what are you fucking talking about, jiu-jitsu? Dude, went on holiday, went to Corfu, and on the way there, I watched an instructional. And when I got there, I made my wife lie on the bed. So I could practice this jiu-jitsu move. Anyway, sorry.
So like I've done martial arts for a good few years, so I get it to a certain degree. But you can be doing jiu-jitsu and you could be on your back and someone a lot bigger, stronger, or with better technique than you is all over you. And you are literally, your whole body is killing, trying to defend yourself. But you get sadistic pleasure out of it.
Because you have to figure it out.
Exactly, because you have to figure it out. So I believe entrepreneurship or running your own company is there's a part of you that will embrace and enjoy and get some kind of pleasure out of the biggest challenges. Because if you don't, you'll avoid them. So in an area of life that's not important to you, you will avoid the challenges. You will wish that they went away. You will wonder why it's happening to you. You will just hide from them. You'll bury your head in the sand. But anything that's really important to you, like imagine a coder. A coder will get 15 cans of Red Bull and they will code for 5 days straight, geeking out because they fucking love the biggest problem. I think if you've got that, not just ability to solve problems, but desire to solve challenges and problems, I think you're going to be successful in what you do. You've got to have the right business model. So Blockbuster didn't have the right business model towards the end. Kodak didn't pivot into the right business model.
Toys R Us.
Yeah, there you go. But you can start well. Coca-Cola have evolved, and a lot of people criticize them, but they've evolved. They bought healthy drinks companies. They're multi-brand companies. So you've got to have the right business model. You've got to have fair exchange. You've got to create this environment where you're creating profit. So this is something that a lot of entrepreneurs, probably not the guys that you attract. This is big fraternity of people, coaches, therapists, consultants, trainers, brilliant at what they do. Spent tens of thousands of pounds on courses and seminars, like have massive guilt around charging fees and won't charge fees. Just do a bit of free coaching for you. I just need to get some testimonials.
Personal trainers.
Just need to get some clients in before, because they've got guilt. You do not have to feel guilty creating profit.
Or I just want to help people.
Exactly. If people, I just want to help people is usually marketing spin. Or there's some underlying guilt and shame there. Usually I think you need
Where do you think that comes from?
I think it can come from how you were raised. So maybe you were raised that, capitalism was bad, making money was bad. A lot of people believe that if a billionaire is a billionaire, that means that all the money that the poor people could have had has been taken away from a billionaire, because they don't understand economics. And, supply and demand. They don't understand how money works. So now your net worth will be linked to your self-worth. So if you don't value yourself, you won't value the fees that you put on your products and services. And if you don't value yourself, why should anyone else? So people will sense you not valuing yourself. So if you can pick out those 5 or 6 things, that's what I think it takes.
That last one's amazing. That last one's amazing. I absolutely love that. What are some things that people could do? Because I think low self-worth is very, I see it a lot. People just don't value themselves. They think they're a loser. They think they're this. What have you done to raise your self-worth?
Can I just take this one? Kate's just like this. Deep stuff, guys. However, Rob, I'm trying to figure out if you're wearing a backpack or not. It's actually a pretty good one.
Got a parachute in it.
So this is an Alexander McQueen shirt, and this is just the style. So this is the signature of Alexander McQueen.
I love it.
So Alexander McQueen, probably one of, obviously this is subjective. But in fashion, he's pretty well regarded as one of the best fashion designers that's ever lived. Before the age of, I think, 23, he'd been basically head creative of 2 of the biggest fashion houses in the world. I mean, you don't even get one of those at that age. He got 2. He didn't really have a traditional route. He did do fashion college, but not the traditional route of education. Obviously set up his own brand, Alexander McQueen, made the most polarizing, memorable clothing. And then on the evening of his mum's funeral, when he was 40 years old, he hung himself.
Oh, shit.
And I always liked McQueen. I like good clothes. I know that's subjective because people would argue these are not good clothes. But I've always liked a story I love the Lamborghini story, you know, the classic story that Ferrari basically said, well, you just make shitty tractors, really. Because it used to be a tractor company. And you know, that was supposedly one of the things that spurred him on. Messi, Ronaldo rivalry.
Amazing.
So I love stories in things. And I buy stories as much as I buy, you know, what it looks like. But there's a documentary on Alexander McQueen called McQueen.
Oh, really?
You need to fucking watch it. You'll go back home, you'll watch that.
And I might watch it on the train home.
You'll be floored. You'll be
really
floored. Yeah. I don't know how you can't be inspired by that. It's a very sad story. I mean, you know, take your own life at 40 years old. It's pretty sad. He was quite tortured. He had quite a lot of demons in his head. I think if you've experienced bipolar, you'd be able to relate to some of the stuff he went through.
I suppose he's also of a high creative intellect, right?
Yeah.
To be at that level, you've got to have super high creative intellect.
Yeah. I mean, McQueen is one of the biggest fashion brands in the world. And to make something into one of the biggest fashion brands in the world, basically in 15 years, you know, from whenever he started McQueen, it would have been in his mid to late 20s to 40. That's fucking amazing. No one does that. So that's my answer to why I wear a shirt that looks like a Scott.
Well, did you see the one about the watches?
£1,000 as well, this shirt was.
Oh, really? Did you see the one about the watches?
No.
So I've been accused twice today. One of my friend Aaron Chalmers, Geordie Show guy, and I've seen it 3 times on here. I'm not wearing 2 watches. This one is called a Whoop Band. Tracks my recovery, tracks my heart rate variability. This one just measures my steps. So I haven't found anything that does all of those things. So no, I'm not wearing 2 watches. This one doesn't even tell the fucking time. So just to answer that one. Yeah, there you go. So self-worth. Because I think this is huge.
Yeah. I mean, it's easy to say, but if someone's had a really tough upbringing or they've been put down by their parents or they've never really had love or acceptance in their life, this isn't necessarily easy. I wrote a book called I'm Worth More. And one of the reasons I wrote that book is because when I was young, I was really overweight. I was the fattest kid in my year. And if you're the second fattest kid, you kind of get away with it because no one takes the piss out of the second fattest kid. They take the piss out of the fattest kid. The fattest kid gets all the jokes. And I was the fattest kid. Mate, I fucking hated it. I hated it. I cried to my mum every weekend, but I wouldn't talk to my dad about it because of pride and that. And they put me through boarding school for 3 years. I hated it. I hated swimming because back in those days, you had to wear those Speedos, you know, those fucking
little budgie smugglers.
Yeah. Well, you couldn't really see much other than rolls of fat with me. Showers, they made all the kids shower together and like being the fattest kid in the showers. I hated it. And also I was raised in pubs and basically me and my sister were just kind of left upstairs in the pubs. We weren't abused. My mum and dad did a great job. I love my mum and dad, but you know, they had to hustle. And so, you know, often they just leave us upstairs. So I had a big part of my childhood where I didn't have love. You know, I didn't have it. And so I really fucking needed it. Really needed it because I didn't have it. And so then I spent the rest of my life searching for it through business, searching for it through relationships, searching through it in what I would wear to get noticed, searching through it in cars, searching through it in everything. And of course, that's an empty hole. It's like a bucket with a hole in it. It never fills. And the only way I could ever actually fully get it was to give it to myself. So John DeMartini said to me, the 2 things he said to me were in the back of a Range Rover about 8 years ago. I remember it clearly. And one of the things he said to me was, and this linked back to what you said earlier, he said, Rob, I gave up being happy many years ago because it makes me so damn depressed. And I was like, it pat and interrupted me because I was like, what does he mean? But you know, ultimately happiness is excitement. You know, when people say I'm really excited, I'm like, oh fuck, they're about to have a fall then. Because excitement is actually a one-sided view. Enthusiasm is a balanced state. Excitement is a one-sided fantasy. So some of the worst things I've done are immediately after really big excitement. I put a 200-grand Ferrari through News International building there, literally about 30 minutes.
Like 30? Were you 30 years old or something?
Yeah, 30 minutes.
Was in the paper on that one?
In the sun. I'm on the world's most expensive crashes website. £105,000 repair bill that was. My son had just had a hole in one. He was 3 years old. He's the youngest person living to get a hole in one. I checked.
Really?
I checked on Guinness Book of World Records.
Shit, that's insane.
And I was just up there. So I was just driving my car like an idiot. Just went straight through because this is why, really high, happy, clappy, positivity, excitement is very fucking dangerous.
Dude, I used to do this.
Especially with people like our personalities.
Yeah,
where we're
I used to do that when I didn't speak at an event for like 2 or 3 years, because I'd do that event and then I'd fucking get on it for like 3 days. And then I'd
riding off the excitement.
Like fucking sniffing and drinking and just going really wild. And then there'd be a massive come down after. I'd disappear for 3 days at a time. And it's only probably the last 3 years that I've managed to get a handle on that. So I totally get it.
Yeah. So the second thing John DeMartini said to me is every human being is worthy of love. And I found that quite profound, because let's be honest, there's people we look up to. And when we look up to someone, we're pedestalizing them above us. Therefore, unconsciously, we're saying they're more worthy of love than us.
Yes.
And let's also be honest, there's some people we look down on. Oh, they do this, they do that. I don't like the way they do that. And unconsciously, we're like, they're less worthy of love than us. And if you study, Dr. John, or if you study Adlerian psychology, they will have a horizontal view of humanity. So a vertical view of humanity is hierarchy, pecking order. The president's the most important person. The janitor is the least important person.
Yes.
But I would say a more wise view of humanity is a horizontal view. Where you're better at martial arts than me because you've studied it. You're not a better person, you're better at martial arts. I might have done better in certain areas of business because I've been doing it longer and I've honored it. You could be as good as me in business if you focused on it for 15, 20 years. I could be as good at you as martial arts if I did train for 3 hours a day. So I look at what you've got and I go, you're great at martial arts. You've got a great concept for your podcast. My podcast is not better, it's different. Just because you may have more views or I may have more downloads, that doesn't make it better or worse. And when John DeMartini said that to me, and I really got around my head that every human being was worthy of love, I had to therefore accept that I'm worthy of love too. And so then I just started, because I think once you realize and feel that you're worthy of love, you start allowing yourself to get it from yourself, and then get it from other people as well. So
what does that look like for you then? Like, what's that in? I'm a real fucking practical guy. I'm pretty sure you're pretty practical too. Like, what does that look like? What does that feel like? What's that action?
Well, it's not an action. This is the paradox of it. It is the opposite of an action. So I have this conversation with our therapist a lot. And I said, I love myself. I'm a good person and I am free. I love myself. I'm a good person and I am free.
It's a belief then.
Yeah. So this mantra that I came up with my therapist. So I'll talk to my therapist and then I'll start saying things like, oh yeah, I gave someone £3,000 today from my foundation. Or my book just got translated into Japanese. Or I'm just going to go and do this for this person. Or I did 5 free one-to-one calls today. And she's like, Rob, you don't need to do that to be a good person. You're already a good person. You are a good person. So what she's trying to do is strip back. First thing she stripped back was accolades. So just because I've got world records and made tens or hundreds of millions of pounds and, books and podcasts and all of that. She's first off, that's not who you are. So then once we stripped all that back, I'm like, fucking hell, that's scary. So then I'm now like, oh, well, what do I do for people? So there's, I do loads of stuff for my wife now that I never did. I do loads of stuff for my community that I wasn't doing 3 or 4 months ago. And I'm now going around helping everyone. And she's like, Rob, but that's still an action. You're still only valuing yourself when you do things for others. And you have to strip that back as well. I don't have to do anything to be worthy of love. What's the comment there?
Look at the comment. Are you asking what the action of self-love is? That's totally fucked with me. That's totally fucked with me. Dude, I love that. I'm like, where I'm at with that, clearly, I haven't got to this level yet. I think I'm the 3rd level down where self-love seems to be an action. I'm trying not to laugh at that again. Self-love seems to be an action of almost, actually, it's different. I'm at the phase where self-care feels like self-love. Does that make sense? So that must be, maybe that's a level above.
No, I think that's a good way to look at it. On a practical level, if you care for yourself, what are you saying that you're doing? You're saying you value yourself enough to put yourself before someone else. So actually self-care is a very practical way of showing self-love. If you're prioritizing what's important to you over what is prioritized by someone else subordinating onto you, whether it's a family member or a wife or husband or an employer. So if you take time to train, and to educate yourself in personal development and do your meditation and eat well.
Yeah.
That's self-care. And those are because I don't know if anyone studied the love languages, but acts of service are some people's love language.
Yes.
So that could be a way that being told are other people's love language.
Yes.
So some people might need to literally have mantras to themselves. I love myself. I love myself. Now, I know for me, being told I'm good at something or I'm successful, essentially being told that I'm loved, that works.
Me too. I'm huge on that. Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of like going back to being the center of attention, being a round of applause on like the standing ovation off the stage, the nice comments that you get on here. Actually, Dr. John DeMartini said something amazing to me. He said, as long as you're addicted to praise, you'll attract all that criticism and challenge.
Yeah, because the criticism and challenge is trying to get you off the addiction of praise.
Yeah.
So when you set a goal, it is wise to think of the challenges that will come.
Yeah.
See, normally when people goal set, smart goals, specific, measurable, achievable, results focused, timed.
Yeah.
They're actually thinking, oh, well, what will I have and what will I achieve and where will I be? But they're not thinking, okay, what difficult people will I attract into my life? What challenges and problems? What will break?
Yeah.
And wisdom is actually...
The reality is those will probably happen before, like those will happen before anything usually. Usually those will happen before you've even fucking started.
Any new goal or any new level you move towards will bring you equal challenge.
Yeah.
So I think it was John John's getting a good freaking pitch.
He really is.
Should be paying us.
When could we possibly get him on the podcast?
I'm going to send this to Clarissa, who is John's partner.
Yeah.
Not business, not life partner. Yeah, John's getting a good pitch.
He is.
I forgot what I was going to say, but he's getting a good pitch.
Dude, well, you mentioned value straight away, and we're being straight on him. So the thing we were talking about was self-care.
That was it. Sorry.
Self-care.
Sorry. So maximum human growth is on the border of support and challenge.
Oh, wow.
So my old self, negative, critical of myself. Who do you fucking think you are? All successful. Look at you with your fucking tattoos, driving in your fucking Ferrari. Who the fuck, even though actually what I really meant was I hate myself.
Yes.
So I'd be overly negative.
Yes.
And then I'd be overly positive.
Yes.
And then when I'm overly negative, I'm wanting everyone to support me. But maximum human growth is on the border of support and challenge, which means you need support and challenge in equal measure to grow.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've noticed this, but when things are going really bad, you'll find that people will come and support you, and you'll actually find people who really care, and it will surprise you.
Yeah.
And also, when things are going really fucking good, something will come to throw a massive spanner in.
Dude, you know what? I actually said this to my wife this week. She was like, "Why are you even thinking that?" I said, "Things have been going so well recently. Podcast blew up, business going really well. We've got this book deal over the line. There's so much going well." I said to my wife, "I said something shit's going to happen."
Well, something shit will already be happening. You're just not seeing it.
Yeah,
because
it's one of these comments.
These
like comments,
like people are always asking me about dealing with critics, trolls, haters, wankers, punks, whatever words they use. They use all those words.
Yeah.
But they have this delusion, this naive fantasy that they can go on social media and espouse and be evangelical of what they believe in, and that no one should criticize them.
Yeah.
And that no one should give them any feedback.
Yeah.
And that they're not going to have any haters, and it's unfair. And why are people hating on me? Why don't they just go and mind their own business?
Yeah.
You cannot have a presence on social media without the critics, the trolls, the haters.
No.
And because for years, it used to upset me if I got overly criticized when people were wrong. I actually don't really mind I don't really mind being criticized if you've got a point.
Yeah.
It kind of does look like a backpack. Yeah. So I'm kind of okay with that. I'm all right with it. I've got fucking 10 of these as well. So like if someone's got a point, I'm kind of all right with it. But if they've not got a point, it's a fucking lie or it's defamation, that would upset me. And I'm like, what's the purpose of that?
Yeah.
But the purpose of that is to give me the lesson I need to stay balanced.
To teach you something.
Because if you have a point when you criticize me, I'm going to get the lesson and I'm going to kind of see it for how it is.
Yeah.
But if you really hate on me, that's going to really wake me up to really get me thinking, fucking hell, I better just be careful what I say and do here.
Yeah.
So critics, trolls, haters, the purpose of them is to keep you in balance, to keep you from getting too high.
Yes.
And ahead of yourself and cocky and complacent.
Yeah. We get
your fans and followers.
Yeah.
They're great.
Yeah.
But they don't pull you down from being. They fuel your complacency, arrogance, and hubris.
Yeah.
So the purpose of a critic is to keep you balanced.
Yeah, we get guys coming on and saying, "Oh, my wife's not supporting me. My wife's saying I shouldn't do this." But actually, we were saying before, I'm saying, listen, if you don't get criticism of her, someone's going to give you it anyway. I mean, you may as well learn from her and have her do it before you've made the decision. Then when you get online and everyone starts fucking caning you.
Yeah.
I've got a question that I really need to ask, because I know we're running out of time now.
Sure.
Because Mrs. Moore's.
Yeah, I can leave at 5 too.
Amazing. All right. So the question that I want to ask was actually concerning podcasts, because I talked to Nick James about this, and he was like, "You've gone all in on the podcast thing," and I suppose I have. Like, what's your thinking behind that? You know, I'm saying this because I was in Nick's 7-Figure Mastermind last week, and all they talked about was your podcast webinar that you did, and they were like, "Oh, it was fucking amazing. The way you positioned it was great. You were talking about all these things." Like, what's your thoughts behind the whole podcast game? I just do it because it's fun. Yeah,
that's quite an intertwined question.
Yeah, it is.
So I'll try and do it really quickly.
It is. Yeah.
So,
what do you love about podcasts, first of all?
I love meeting new and interesting people.
Yeah.
And having new and fun and interesting conversations.
Yeah.
I knew this one would be a slippery eel kind of you know, you're slippery eel all covered in Vaseline, trying to fucking. But I thought this would be fun. And this would be
like if you had to tell people what it was about, I wouldn't have any fucking.
No.
Like if you had to write an email saying, "Oh, you should check out this podcast," because would be like, that Paul Mort talk shit.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
That's your concept,
isn't
it?
Yeah.
So what do I love about podcasts? I love meeting interesting people. I love talking about interesting things.
Yeah.
And I love learning from people.
Yeah.
So I believe humility is the ability to learn from everyone more than to try and project yourself onto them.
Yeah.
So even when people are supposedly interviewing me, or even when people are supposedly my students, I'm still trying to learn from them, because I think you can learn a lot.
Yeah, me too.
So that's one of the things I love about podcasts, what you learn, the people you meet, the conversations you have. I love the medium. I'm a podcast fan myself. I love listening to audio, and I actually learn best from audio rather than video or reading.
Yeah.
So I suppose I'm a podcast fan through and through. So I like that about podcasts.
Yeah.
I mean, why I started one was because one, I just retired after writing Life Leverage.
Yeah.
So I retired. So I'm
that
41 now. I was 36 when I launched that.
Yeah.
So I've retired, like, this is my 5th time.
Yeah.
For real this time. For real this time. So I mean, Adam's just said I love interviewing billionaires. I do. I've almost got this little thing. I've interviewed like 11 or 12 billionaires now. And it's almost like it's not. I'm almost thinking about doing a podcast just on billionaires.
Yeah.
But
it's kind of like me with fighters.
4 years ago, I'd interviewed 1 billionaire.
Yeah.
And now I've got my podcast, and I've interviewed a dozen.
Yeah.
That's what I love about podcasts.
Yeah.
I love the friendships you make. So I've become really good friends with Kevin Clifton from Strictly Come Dancing.
Yeah.
Katie Piper, you know, she's a lovely lady.
Yeah.
Katie Hill, who was a presenter of Blue Peters, got to know me well. I've been helping her with her podcast. So shout out to all those guys. Jake Wood on EastEnders, we've become really good mates. So I have dinner with these guys quite regularly. And I met them all through my podcast. Either them being a fan of mine, or me interviewing them and then going on their show.
Yeah.
I mean,
do you know what? That's happened to me as well.
Awesome.
I've got people's numbers. Like Tyson Fury, follow me on Instagram, and I've got his number. Anthony Crolla, who's a hero of mine, got his number. He's texting me saying, "Paul, the podcast." I'm like, wow. So where do you think podcasts are going?
Well, I think it's one of the youngest forms of media.
It's mad,
if you think about Facebook and YouTube have been going probably a decade longer.
Yeah.
It's definitely growing. It's got more growth potential. There's only about 600,000 active podcasts from the last time I researched.
Yeah.
Whereas I think there's 100 million, is it, Facebook pages, or 100 million YouTube channels? But like, it's crazy small compared to how many YouTube channels.
Do you know, back in 2014, I had a podcast. I had Gary Vee on and people like that.
Yeah.
And back then, when I started this one, I was like, holy shit, it's way more competitive than it was before. Like 10x more competitive than then.
It's
but
a
then
shame you didn't keep it going.
Dude, it is. Yeah, dude, it was killing it. But I was going through some trouble.
Still talking shit.
Exactly. But I was struggling then.
Yeah.
But Max said to me, he said, what you got to think about also is that it's way more popular. There are probably millions more people listening to podcasts.
More competitive. But when you say competitive, who are you competing against? You're not competing against anyone.
No, my fault.
Paul Mort Talk Shit and the Disruptive Entrepreneur podcast are not competing with anyone.
Nah.
We're just trying to be our own concept.
I mean, I was trying to beat. I did beat Fern Cotton, just saying, and then I was catching Joe Wicks, but he's he's a different fucking,
Yeah.
he's on a different
But
planet.
let's be honest about that. For a day, and then you slip down, and then they
yeah, when I dropped those 6 episodes,
But I think that's important to say though. We're not competing against anyone else because business can get a bit obsessive like that.
Yes.
Your books, your podcasts,
Yes.
your turnover. Like a lot of people copy me.
Yeah.
And I'm not copied as much as Tony Robbins, by the way.
Yeah.
But a lot of people do copy me, and in the early days that used to piss me off.
Yeah.
And now
they're not wearing backpack shirts, are they?
No, they're not.
No.
Well, I don't know. Sometimes I do. Things
Actually, I'm sure I've seen Nick James in one of those, dude.
Yeah, I bought that.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. He does like McQueen now, but but it used to piss me off. I used to think, why don't you fucking just find your own brand and your own uniqueness? But then you and I, when we started, probably didn't really have a clue about who we were. And I'd argue for a male, you've got to get into at least 40 before you've got any clue about who you are.
Yeah, I've got 3 weeks. I've got 3 weeks left.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, you and I were copying people probably 10 years ago. We were all inspired by someone. So now I see it as respect, and I'm grateful when people copy me. And what I realize is they're just early in their journey of finding out who they are. And why I suppose, I mean, look, I'm many flaws, I'm many failings, and I have many imperfections. Mm-hmm. But I don't think anyone would disagree who follows me. And even if my critics would say, you can't really put me in a box, and I'm not really like anyone else. Yeah. And whereas if you'd have seen me 10 years ago, they'd have gone, oh, Rob's a bit like Tony Robbins, or Rob's the American Tim Ferriss. Sorry, the British Tim Ferriss. They used to say stuff about that to me 10 years ago. Now they don't anymore. Because I've just got more comfortable in who I am. I have more authenticity.
Yes.
Like we just agreed yesterday.
Dude, we haven't even talked about property at all.
No. And that's another thing, developing my brand and moving away from something that was really safe. I mean, I made tens of millions of pounds out of property, and I got tens of millions of pounds worth of property that I own. Yeah. But I just decided I don't want that to be my brand. So I'm just going to do a podcast on something else. I'm going to write books on something else. And, you could argue back then that was a bad move.
And that might evolve again though, eh? You might be doing some other crazy shit in a few years' time.
I think entrepreneurship for me is about evolution.
Yeah.
And I think if you don't give yourself room to grow, I think you might as well just have a job.
Yeah.
And one day waking up and going, I'm going to do a podcast. And then 2 years later, I might do another one. So I have two. I have one called Money. And I've got loads of ideas of things I want to start. Yeah. And that's why I am free. In the mantra, I love myself, I'm a good person, and I am free. Because as an entrepreneur, I'm completely free. I can do what I want, as long as it's legal and as long as I'm not hurting my clients, as long as it's ethical and moral. It's important. But I can do what I want. Yeah. And if I wake up tomorrow and I want to stop my podcast, I can. And if I wake up tomorrow and I want to do a podcast just for billionaires, I can. Yes. And if I want to write 3 books in one go, I can.
Yes.
And if I want to sit in my new studio listening to vinyl, I can.
Yeah.
And I think that's very liberating.
Yeah.
One of the reasons I do a podcast is because I think a personal brand is a powerful thing right now. And I guess, you're building your personal brand. Yeah. And, Expert Empire's really helped leverage you on that.
Yeah.
So people trust people more than corporations. You trust Rob Moore probably more than Progressive Property, or you trust Elon Musk maybe more than Tesla, or SpaceX.
Yeah.
People relate to people and trust people.
Yeah.
Steve Jobs had it nailed because he had a personal brand, Steve Jobs.
Yeah.
A product brand, iPhone, whatever, loads of product brands.
Yeah.
And then, of course, he had the company brand, Apple.
Yeah.
And I built a company brand, Progressive Property, and that did quite well.
Yeah.
But it did really well in its own space.
I was going to say quite well, bro. Come on.
But I'm not Amazon.
Yeah.
So, it did well, but don't get ahead of yourself.
Yeah.
But I didn't have a personal brand when I had a property company back then. No one knew who I was.
Yeah.
And it wasn't an ego play. Yeah. It was just that I want freedom. Because if I'm doing Progressive Property and one day I decide, I've not told any of my followers this really, just because they don't really know me for this.
Yeah.
But a few times over the last 5 years, I have thought about taking ayahuasca and then I haven't. So that hallucination.
Did he have that like a little giggle from back there?
Oh, right.
Did you not hear that? There was a little giggle came from back there.
Right.
I don't know who that was.
Right. So we'll come to that. But like a few times I've thought, you know what? I quite like the idea of having that experience of taking ayahuasca in a controlled environment with a good shaman.
Yes.
For my own self-discovery.
Yeah.
But if if I am the owner of Progressive Property, Progressive Property owner takes ayahuasca, that's actually not good for the brand of the company.
Yeah.
Whereas if I have my own personal brand,
you can do what you want.
I can do what I want.
Yeah.
I've also thought once or twice about just getting pissed on a podcast and just seeing where it goes.
I had this conversation on Wednesday. I had the same conversation with the podcast guys in London. Yeah.
And when you've got a personal brand, you can do that. And people who follow you, they follow you.
Well, what I've already realised, dude, you'll only need 1 pint.
Well, there you go.
We'll do it now.
You're probably going to like judge me now and not really think I'm a man. I don't drink pints. I drink cocktails. I know.
I don't know. Okay.
Yeah. So, what is that passion fruit cocktail we have? Monster, Harry. Pistol Punch.
Really?
Passion fruit cocktail.
Wow.
It gets me really pissed.
That's a new headline. Rob Moore drinks Pistol Punch.
Yeah. So
rides dicks and drinks Pistol Punch. I love it. Wow.
Yeah. So I think I started a podcast because I wanted to develop my personal brand. I think it's a big key play in your personal brand with the YouTube. I have a YouTube channel. I have a Facebook page. I do all of the stuff, by the way. Yeah. So it's just one of the things that I do.
Yeah.
Also, freedom. So like, on your podcast, you can say and do whatever you want. And there's not many places on this planet where you can say and do whatever you want. You can't really say and do whatever you want on Facebook.
Nah.
You're going to get ripped or you're going to get censored by something.
Yes.
On your podcast, again, I think that the key rules are, is it moral? Is it ethical? Is it legal?
Yeah.
And would you want someone saying that about you? So like, I try and use those rules: moral, ethical, legal, and would you want them saying
Let's
that
not
about
talk
you?
shit. Let's not talk shit about people.
Well, you've got a podcast called Talk Shit.
Yeah.
So you can get away with it because it's on brand. Yeah. And also, you haven't talked shit about anyone on this
No.
podcast until they've trolled you. So you're doing it as a comeback. So for me, I think that's okay.
Yeah.
My concept is a bit different. So people would expect it of you, and you can get away with it.
Yeah.
But for me, if I wouldn't want them doing it to me, I'm not going to do it to them.
Yes.
That I'm trying to live by that code. And I'm an imperfect human being.
It's
and I
hard.
make mistakes.
That's
sometimes.
hard.
And everyone's imperfect, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And forgiving yourself and forgiving others is important.
Yeah.
So I fucking love doing podcasts. It's also really therapeutic. Like I'll go home now and this will kickstart me and have a brilliant conversation with my wife.
Yes.
And my brain will be on fire. And I'll probably have an idea for a couple of my own podcasts. Yes. And I'll remind myself of some shit I learned 15 years ago. Yeah. Hopefully you'll be buzzing when you get on the train back.
Yeah.
So
I feel like I could fly home right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. The fly home. I love it.
And by the way, I know I sort of said thank you, but you traveled 3 hours to get here. I'm really grateful for that.
Hey, my pleasure.
That's
my pleasure.
That's awesome.
Mate, what a great way to end.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I've had a blast.
Are we done, are we?
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not sure what we're doing here because we've got your audience, but we're recording my podcast. So
let's do a shout out for both shows then.
So you guys are listening to Paul Mort Talk Shit on iTunes, it's not even called that anymore, on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, watching the YouTube channel. Thank you so much. Don't forget to head on over to Rob Moore's page where we're also live, and check out Rob Moore's podcast, The Disruptive Entrepreneur and Money. And I don't know what you're supposed to say now.
No, you said it.
That's it. By the way, one more before we go, we've got a picture. Who the fuck's that guy on there?
That's me.
That's not you,
That's
bro.
Me. Look, that's me.
Oh, it is you. Oh, you look double handsome on there. I love that.
Oh, but I don't know.
It doesn't look like you that.
Yeah, that's me. It's because I've got no hair, I suppose.
That's why it is. You grew the hair out.
And
I'm
posing.
Yeah, that is a super. That's your blue steel.
Yeah.
That's a blue steel. Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I've had a blast. Thank you.